Howdy, and welcome to Oye Dimelo Cinema Club. My name is Raymond, and I'm going to introduce a few people. So first, I'm introducing Steve. Then I'm introducing Naomi, and then I'm introducing Michaela. A couple of peeps are missing. Jason might be popping in at some point during this, and it'll be exciting to hear what he says because actually, I want to do one trivia question. Oh wait, no, I already did this. Okay, never mind. Okay, so the movie that we're covering this week is Grease, which premiered in 1978. It has a running time of 1 hour and 50 minutes. It was chosen by me. It's one of my top 10 favorite films, and it's directed by Randall Kleiser. Sorry if I messed up your name. Happy belated birthday. And it's written by Bronte Woodard and based on the original musical by Jim Jacobs and Warren Casey, and it stars John Travolta and Olivia. Ding. So, with that said, initial thoughts, first impressions, anybody?
I mean, I'm a music theater. I was a music theater major in college. So, the amount of, having to do these numbers throughout my entire life, it's ridiculous. Honestly, this movie is so weird to me. Just because, when you read those scripts that are, written by bots, it kind of feels like that at times. I've never seen it before. It's kind of very interesting to see how people in the 70s were just like, oh yeah, this was high school. Yeah.
Naomi?
I'm with Michaela on this one. I did reenact Grease in my living room. And in middle school, I did have the chance to do the stage for it in what was for 8th grade, the play at the end of the year. So I'm very fond of this movie. I love this musical. It's I think a lot of Latinos like this musical the most. I feel that this connects a lot with, being in a varsity and that whole storyline is great. Yeah, I absolutely enjoy this film. Yeah.
Steve?
Okie dokie, it's my turn. Grease. This movie sucks. No, I'm kidding. No, the movie Grease was actually my mom's favorite film when I was growing up because I honestly seen this movie I don't know, maybe 70 times. I have no idea how many times I saw it, but I always saw it as a kid. Now, seeing it as an adult, I'm also kind of in the ballpark of Michaela a little bit of yo, this is what high school was in the 70s. People look like they're 80 years old and they pretending to be freshmen out here. And they're out here with fucking jackets thinking they're cool because they got a fucking jacket. Meanwhile, when people were having solos, I mean, Michaela posted that picture. But I was saying the same thing. What's up with that sad guy in the corner? He's he's all depressed while everybody's singing and happy. Maybe he's thinking, I don't belong in this musical school. What's going on with that guy? But for me, my favorite character in particular, since I was a kid and even up to this day, is Friendship.
No, suit yourself. Wow.
What?
Well, I hate to tell you this, but your hair looks like an Easter egg.
Why Frenchie?
Oh no, that's not Friendship?
No, that's Frenchie.
No, why?
Oh, why? I just loved that she was so expressive. I'm a very colorful guy. I like dressing with colors. So I love that throughout the movie she's just changing her hair and just she's the only one kind of shooting to her own horn, doing her own thing, going I don't care what y'all think. I'm just gonna be the little weirdo out here just coloring her hair and doing things like that. And for some reason, I really, even up to this day, I still, one of my favorite songs that's extremely underrated is the Beauty School Dropout, Go Back to High School or whatever. Like I love, I don't know why I love that song. I love that whole sequence, how they prepared the whole thing. It was really cool. So yeah, initial thoughts is a cool movie. The songs are still iconic in my opinion. The dynamics in high school are a little weird, very weird. For example, this scene was really weird to me.
You gonna pay for that?
Yeah, well, I'll give you 75 cents for the whole car, including your chick.
Did your car?
Yeah, he's a jerk. And then later, she just goes with the guy to make the other guy jealous. Like, what is going on? The psychology of these kids. Well, these grown-ups pretending to be kids. Anywho, that's my initial thoughts.
So, it's my favorite movie ever. Nothing's wrong with it ever. It's like, what is your favorite musical and why is it not Grease? But for me, it is. It like truly is. And I feel like outside of the fact that they're capturing high school life with 30-year-olds, that there is like a lot of stuff that I look and I go, that seems ridiculous. I do believe high schoolers would do that. Like this, sleeping with someone to get jealous, or not articulating how you're feeling and instead like doing something to get your friend mad. Like I was watching it with Larry yesterday, and I was like, watching this when I was younger, I was always like, Rizzo's a mean girl. Like, she's mean. And especially when she decides that she's going to reunite Danny and Sandy at the pep rally, instead of just having a sit-down conversation with Sandy and being like, yo, like, Danny's at this school that you're at, and he's actually a douchebag. She's like, no, you know what? I'm going to put it, which is great for a movie, visual, conflict, all the things. But I was like, she's a mean girl. And I'm like, but at the same time, I feel like that's what people do in high school.
I mean, to be honest with you, just to add to that, I honestly thought deep down inside, the best actress was her.
Oh, same. She also has the most complex character, and she's not just a mean girl.
But it's not just that. It's like, to me, great acting, at least to me, because it's subjective. But to me, great acting is also when you can see what a character is thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And Rizzo, more than anybody, had the best facial expressions, and you can clearly see what she was thinking almost in every single scene.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're talking about casting, because I do think, having watched it this time around, I was just like, everyone makes a meal out of their role, whether they're in the T-Birds or the Pink Ladies or the principal or the vice principal or the coach. Even like the nerd has like a bookend scenes, and kind of the like preppy Leia Michelle of Grease time. Like I just feel like everyone really knocks it out of the park. I was like floored at the casting and just how well everyone acted. Like, I feel like these days you might get like this one note role, and then we're like, oh, okay, that joke was funny, they'll come back, and you're like, oh, it's the person with the funny joke, and now they're just fine. But I feel like here they just like fully devoted face and like mannerisms, and had like a whole background to their character that you really felt real and lived in.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's also like part of the joy of this piece is that, like they really are going for it. Like they're not trying to be subtle. So they're like, I don't think that anyone takes this film too serious. Like whoever's in it's like not being too serious about it, which is part of like why the performances are so good, because like I feel like when you're in a very serious role and you have to be serious actor, I sometimes I wonder how much of that gets in the way of just being like, yeah, no, humans are ridiculous. So, yeah.
Were there any other like standout either actors or favorite characters for y'all?
I agree with Steve. I think Frenchie has always stood out to me the most. I guess growing up, I kind of looked up to her. I was like, hey, she went on her own way. She went against the grain and was like, fuck school, let me be an entrepreneur, you know? So I kind of like always admired her character. I believe Rizzo wouldn't have been played awesomely by anyone else besides the character herself. I don't know her name, but it was very well executed. You know who the gender role that was like against everything was the mechanic teacher.
Yeah.
That was like, hey, I'm just noticing that she's a mechanic teacher and she's, you know, this movie is like based on the 50s and it's released in the 70s, so it's like it's a big impact. It also was not.
I never thought about that.
So I was like looking at it today and I'm like, hey, that's a woman's voice talking to the dudes about mechanic, and it just like triggered. I'm like, this beats like it contradicts a gender role, and I really dig that, you know, about that. Now that I saw it now, but I didn't have noticed that before. So.
I mean, I think that.
Go for it.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, like, my favorite part of like people to watch in this film the whole time this time around was like the background characters. Like I sent something to Steve because like literally in the Summer Lovin', there's just this guy who's like sitting with like behind all the girls, just looking very like, I just sat at the wrong place at lunch. And then like when they first did that, yes. And then there's like this,
like, yeah.
Yeah,
at the cafeteria tables.
Like he's just there, like, and then when you first go to the diner, like, and they're all dancing, there's a girl standing on top of a table, just like schmoozing her strawberry milkshake to death. Like she is dancing with this milkshake, and she is living her best life. So I think she's my favorite character.
What I love about the background characters too is I think they use them throughout the film. Mm-hmm. So like the same faces will pop up, especially like at the carnival scene or whatever at the end.
Not you, Eugene.
Including Eugene.
Bro, this was the first time ever. I'm talking ever, and I've seen this movie a lot of times since I was a young kid. The first time I noticed Eugene.
What?
Eugene.
Oh.
How'd you miss him the last two times? They're so mean to him.
I don't know if they cut it out of the scene, or I don't know if I just don't notice those parts. But legit, this was the first time I was like, oh, who's this nerdy character here?
Even Eugene can't win.
That like he plays an important role.
Yeah, he has like 3 or 6 whole scenes. I was like, oh snap.
And at the end, he has a better pitch than the other guys.
The cool guys.
Well, growing up, I think I was obsessed with Sandy and Danny, and then at a certain point, high school, I was like, oh my gosh, Rizzo's like such a badass and so like layered and complex. Stockard Channing, who plays her, is a beast. And then anytime I saw her in anything else, I was always like, I have to love this film. And so she's cool, and because I think I fell more in love with her character as I got older. My favorite song is "There Are Worse Things I Can Do." Is that what the song title is called? Yeah. But I was gonna ask y'all, what's your favorite or least favorite song in the film?
Least favorite or favorite?
Either or.
Either.
I don't know. I feel like I think my least favorite songs are like Sandy and Zuko's their pairing songs, just because like sometimes I feel like they just came out of nowhere, you know, like when Sandy's singing about how much she wants to be like or like be with Zuko. It's like, aren't you mad at him?
Okay,
Here's
so
your last scene. You were mad.
I did think something similar when it came to. This is the first time I watched it and was like not taking everything for granted. And
Yeah.
Danny at the drive-in definitely is like passing so many like just disregarding all her boundaries, being like a total dick. And then when he sings the song says like it's basically her fault that they're.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait. How do you take control this narrative?
Drive through.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't do anything wrong. I just like jumped on top of her. God, I'm hopeless.
It like does not match the story at all.
I would say two of my favorite songs is "Hopelessly Devoted to You" and where she transforms herself. I have no idea how the lyrics are, but I just love that song.
Wait, what? Which one are you saying? What was that gibberish you were
Sorry,
saying?
I'm talking alien.
Go together like llama.
So okay, I'm gonna say that was my favorite song, just because it's the first time I think ever. Besides, not even. I was gonna say the Bad Bunny song, Jono Naguni, whatever the fuck. But it's the first time that I see a song that literally puts legit gibberish, because I don't think this is a language. I think it's literally sounds. And I personally know all the lyrics to it because in third grade I actually played Danny Zuko in like my school field day in Puerto Rico. In field days, they not just do sports competition. They do dance competitions. Like kind of bring it on.
So cool.
Yeah, and they like award people like best dance and shit like that, and people took it serious.
Did you win?
Huh?
Did you win?
In third grade? I mean, I assume so because we fucking did. we did the whole last scene. Basically, we did like almost like a remix of Grease, but we finished with that last scene. Everybody always be together, doing the whole thing, that whole thing.
Yeah.
Well, see, I'm glad.
And like that's always something that I feel like happens a lot in choir. It's like they always do. We go together and the hand jive. Those are two different sequences.
Right.
But honestly, I think that's like what you ask every single like music theater kid is. So when did you first have to do the Grease the Grease melody? Like seriously, like there is most people like in their high school choir or middle school choir has to do like this Grease melody that starts with Grease is the word, Grease lightning, and then it goes.
Yeah.
And then like I feel like everyone who had to go to an American high school had to do that once if they were like in choir or theater or something.
I did that in Puerto Rico.
My high school did Grease as a production for senior year. But in San Antonio, at least, it seems that like high schools actually don't do it that often. So when they do it, it's like a big deal. I think the last time they'd done it was like 10 years previous. And it just so happened, which feels like someone just wasn't communicating. But like the Performing Arts School of San Antonio did it the same year that like my high school, which is not a performing arts school, did it. And it was like, it was unfair. But what was cool is like, as y'all know now, I'm like super obsessed with Grease. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like of the 10 years that they could have done this stage musical, like they did it the 1 year I was at this high school and I was in band, but I was like, y'all have to let me be like a part of this somehow. Like they were gonna allow the band to actually be like the band in the show, and I was like, no, like I want to get my feet wet. I want to like do some acting, like Raymond on the stage. So I auditioned, and you know, through the grapevine, I heard that I was up for a T-word role, but they wouldn't allow a band kid to do any of the like principal roles. So, so I had one song as Johnny Casino, "Born to Hand Jive." That was my way of sneaking in. That's my Grease story. There's a reboot coming out too, by the way. TV show.
A TV show?
Wasn't there a remake with Vanessa Hudgens? Like they did a live.
Kind of. It was like one of those like Broadway stage things.
Rent did the same thing, right?
They did it with Rent, Jesus Christ Superstar.
Little
if it was
Mermaid?
decently popular, they probably did it recently. I think they did Rocky Horror Show as well.
Yeah, they've done a lot. It was interesting. There's always something that ends up happening that like sidelines some of these productions because they're all really live. And someone's ankle gets broken and they don't have understudy because they don't want to put like some big name as an understudy for a live show. It's a lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So going back real quick to, you were saying songs, but I'm gonna say scenes real quick.
Okay.
That's the thing that comes to mind right now. So my absolute favorite scene now, looking back at the movie, is definitely that whole dance, like when they're doing the prom thing or whatever that is. That whole thing. But just
that whole great.
That whole thing, because the amount of coordination that has to get involved to get these shots, they seem very continuous to me. Didn't seem that there was that much stoppage throughout that whole scene. And then my least favorite, but we can talk about that later, is the ending.
That's how I feel about the last shot of God, I just slipped out of my mind.
Danny and Sandy.
Yes, when they're at the end, that whole scene when they're like in the whole Shake Shack. That I thought that was shot beautifully. Another one is Sandra Dee, like brush, that whole scene, that Sandra Dee thing. I think that's epic. And how they just do like close-ups, like, emphasize a girl's room. I like that one. I'm like, I was always obsessed in seeing that pink room repeated over and over. Something about the pink room and just having, pop stars or James Dean is epic. I really, really enjoy that scene of the whole Rizzo's room. I mean, Frenchie's room, That's color part.
My favorite line, like how sometimes you'll go like, "Oh, I'm gonna say a quote. What's this movie from? Or what's the line from? What movie is this line from?"
Yeah.
My favorite one to say is it says right here, "Dessert wine," because it's like super obscure, but like also if you watch this 100 times, Steve and his mom, then you'll probably maybe get it.
Yeah. No. Pink ladies make this film. 100%.
For sure.
That is true. That is true. Where is it? I want to take a quick moment, just a quick moment. I'm not gonna borrow that much time, but just act like JP's legal representative, and talk for JP with his actual thoughts that he texted to me.
Oh my gosh, he went to town.
Oh yeah, he did. He did. So, as JP would say, not my first viewing every mom's favorite musical. Revisiting the film, I'm surprised that the story was very simple. which the musical numbers more than make up for, and the fun cast. It's a good thing that these degenerate 30-something-year-old masquerading as degenerate teenagers are somewhat likable despite their depravity. The film's a classic, and it's worth a watch for its music and characters, which again makes up its lackluster plot. Also, regarding the end of the movie, it is my headcanon that when Danny and Sandy's cars fly off to the sky, it crashed into Tucci while he was on his way to his home planet and they all died. 3.5 out of 5 stars. That's JP's thoughts, ladies and gentlemen.
I was gonna ask what what what's with the flying car? Like, do
I
y'all
mean,
make sense of that?
we can talk about that later, unless you want to get into it right now.
I mean, since JP went ahead and brought it there, I'm down.
Okay. Least favorite scene. Least favorite scene. I'm just like, yo, so they just don't care. At this point, they're just like, first of all, let's address the first thing that pissed me off watching it as a grown up. It's like, what is up with this overnight transformation with Sandy?
Well, Zuko tries to do it too. That's the thing. And like they're so desperately in love that they're willing to be whatever they need for each other. But since Zuko's the guy, he gets to keep his swag.
Love it.
So she waits overnight, literally overnight, because the night before she was watching them race in a car, and she
Well,
just
like
goes.
that's why she and Frenchie have that scene. She goes over to Frenchie's house, borrows some clothes, has her tease her hair.
Yeah. So she went from Jehovah's Witness to I'm a slutty.
Well, that was her whole
Yeah, from
ending
Down
song. That's what that was about. Was say goodbye to Sandra D.
So Rizzo in the first interaction, she's like, "How's it going down under?" And then she's like, "It's going well." And like she really didn't get the dirty jokes. I found that hilarious. So now you're saying she transformed into a Jehovah's Witness
You
To
say
a girl.
what, Naomi?
to a dirty girl from down under.
JP's reaction.
That's accurate.
Lee, are we still talking about Lee's favorite scenes or
I mean, we're talking about that car now.
I forgot that happened in the now that you mention it, I'm like that I really forgot that happened.
I feel like
Watching
every
it
once
right
in a
now.
Like the whole car scene, them like riding off. I forgot that really happened. Like now watching it again, I was like, hey, that did happen.
I feel like I've read before like fan theories of what that's supposed to mean, and there's of course like I was talking about the Star Wars one, the Star Wars fan theory about innocent people on the Death Star. In this one, they say like it's supposed to represent that like Danny and Sandy are like dead or something, and they actually died a while ago, and the like purgatory thing, and da 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 da. I was just wondering if anyone has like a coherent one, because I'm always here for like a fan theory
They didn't know how to end the movie.
or that.
That's my fan theory. Because they were just like, I don't know, we have the song. But we can't
Right
just
off
end it
into it.
there. Have them drive off into the sunset. Hasn't that been done before? Fine. Drive them up into the sky. Fine, I will, Jerry. That's how that went.
Accurate.
Yeah,
Is that, I mean, this is based off of a musical. Is that how the musical ends too?
Mm. I can't remember. I think it's literally just the song and then it curtains.
yeah. I really think that's the way it went, because it was like, yo, we have a good movie. The music's banging. We got Travolta smiling. We got great musical numbers and dance numbers. Great dance scene. How the fuck we end this, bro?
I mean, they bebop themselves out of the fucking. Might as well, they're connected to the UFO.
You know, to me as a grown up, just watching that, it was painful. I was just like, I get what you're trying to do, but this is not how the movie was supposed to end. No explanation. The car just blasts off. How do you have a car in the 70s that does that? Because I'm in 2021 and I still don't have one.
We were
First
promised.
of all, it was the 50s.
Yeah.
Look at that.
I mean, the Google tells me that it's just what Michaela said. Of they're like riding into the sunset, literally, but playing on the figurative expression.
Yeah, I'm sure they try to George Lucas it, you know.
No, that was Jurassic Park.
Well, let's see. I had a few more things that I wanted to talk about with y'all. I am watching it this time. I think it's easy sometimes to disregard like choreography and cinematography when the film is so silly. It's not like meant to be majestic or like super landscapey or whatever. And I feel like there are just so many moments in this film where they really, really just like knock it out of the park, especially when it is Danny and Sandy in the frame, or if it's just Danny being highlighted or just Sandy being highlighted, they like really blow up the image and make it like obnoxiously gorgeous. And then also kind of to what Steve was saying, kind of to what Steve was saying earlier about the kind of dance-off sequence. It's like all of that took so much preparation, I'm sure, to get like all the dancers, the background, all the principals to know the footwork just as well as the trained dancers did, and to make sure that it had equal footing. I just feel like there's a lot going on, and having watched it this time, I was like, even when the choreography looks simple, putting it on camera and how the actors are moving in itself is also like gorgeous, well thought out choreography and cinematography. So yeah, I just wanted to put that in there.
Well, I think that's what makes this a very watchable film. You know, because like if it had just been John Travolta and his 30-year-old gang and like just doing like lame hijinks, I don't think it'd be watchable. You know, and I think that's also why it has such staying power, because it's such a Hollywood thing to make gorgeous musical, like there's so much like Hollywood history in the way that they choreographed a lot of that. Like just like watching the Grease Lightning sequence. Like all of that like synchronized swimming stuff. That's right out from the 20s. Like straight up. And like I feel like if they hello.
Hello.
Like I feel like if we didn't have those like really crisp dance sequences and musical numbers, I don't think it would have had nearly the impact it did.
Are you guys on already? Did you guys start already?
Yes.
Agree.
Oh.
We've been talking about kind of our favorite parts, our least favorite parts. Right now we're talking about like the importance of music and choreography. So I don't know if you want to jump in and maybe tell us your first impression of the film.
I will, because here I'm actually at Glacier National Park at the visitor center, because that's where we get Wi-Fi. So I'll just go really quick. Yeah, I had forgotten how the movie was. I even did the musical in an outdoor theater, so I think I had gotten scarred for life with grief, having to do the hand jive out on like asphalt and 100-degree humidity in Ohio during the summer. But yeah, the musical was great. Jason was it was Jason's first time watching it, and he was like, "Oh, I get why people go crazy about the musical." Clearly, there are things in the musical that have not aged well. but man, those dance moves were amazing, and the dance moves I think um, still look really good. Clearly, all the dudes have like 5 o'clock shadows, and they're supposed to be like 17, 18. So yeah, and yeah. So my thing that I will say before maybe I get cut off or um, I lose signal or a bear attacks me. Um,
As he looks behind him.
well, we have to walk and make noises so the bear doesn't come. Did you guys ever hear the theory that Sandy actually died at the beginning? And Raymond just got really excited that the whole movie, the whole musical, is Sandy's last final thoughts as she's dying, as she's drowning and trying to be saved by John Travolta's character. So that's a theory that's out there that some people take really seriously or whatever, that it's all just in her imagination.
It'd make more sense.
Right? Anyway, so those are kind of my initial thoughts or whatever. But yeah, I really enjoyed the movie. I guess I was just from actually being in it, and I had a bad taste in my mouth, but watching it I was like, this is fun, this is entertaining. Yeah, so that's it. I might get
Thank
cut
you
off at some point.
I feel like to some degree, Dino and I are on opposite sides. Where like last week, I was like, "Oh, I have an appreciation now for Star Wars: A New Hope." And it sounds like samesies with Grease. Yeah.
I don't know if I have an appreciation for Grease. I just, for what it is, it's
Fair.
Watching it as a time capsule, it's there. But I think I had a different feeling to it because Jason hadn't watched it, so I was kind of getting Jason's reactions, and he was kind of digging it, So, yeah.
I did have new feelings too, in the sense of it. Some of it didn't age well. So I was watching it in my TV in Spanish, and then I'm like, wait, that's what this says. Like, translated in Spanish, there's some rude stuff. So I don't recommend it in Spanish. But the whole acting y todo eso está in English. So yeah. I'm just saying, the dialogue in Spanish does not translate well.
I know what I was going to say. I was going to add, I don't know if you guys know, but it was a stage play first, right? A musical. And it's actually even more dirty in the musical version than in the movie. So, like, it's way more innuendos. It's way, more sexualized. And, yeah. And then also on the flip side, mosquitoes are starting to eat me, guys. I gotta keep moving. Also, on the flip side, there were some songs, and I think maybe even the hand jive wasn't actually in the original musical, but the movie became so popular they had to add things from the movie into the musical because the audiences would go to watch Grease and be like, "Where's the hand jive?" And they're like, "Well, it's not really part of the musical." And they're like, "We want our money back. Can we speak to the manager?" And they're like, "Okay, Karen, we'll add those songs."
Wow.
This is the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, in the stage musical they have a different "Alone at the Drive-In" song, and I think Marty has a song in the stage musical, or one of the Pink Ladies has a song of their own.
Yeah, way more people have their own songs. I think my favorite character might be Frenchie, because I think she's the one.
Wow.
What?
Everyone on this except me, I guess. is a team Frenchie.
Well, she seemed like the nicest one, the one that actually kind of cared and had actual kind of feelings.
She was like out of their age group. Like she acted out of their age group. Like for her to follow her entrepreneurial life, you know what I mean? I dig her a lot. She was authentic.
And what a great song, the Beauty School Dropout. That's just so great. All right. Well, I'm going to head on back out, guys, because I'm in a national park and I need to be enjoying.
Wait, Dino. What about the last scene theory?
He talked about that.
What
so
theory?
we were saying what do you make of the car flying into like space?
Oh yeah, that's because she died and she's going to heaven.
Okay. I mean that answers
it. She was not revived. I'm going with that. I heard that once, and I'm on that team all the way.
I think that's bullshit, but cool.
It makes sense. The first song was about her falling, almost drowning and got a cramp. I get it.
She didn't wait the 30 minutes. Okay, there were a couple bros at the lake today that were clearly from the South because they had really strong accents. And the guy's like, "Get in the water," and he's like, "I gotta wait 30 minutes after I eat this granola bar." So maybe she ate a granola bar and didn't wait enough time. All right, guys. Good seeing everyone, and I might join you guys next week. I don't know if I'll be back or not, but we'll see.
Okay,
see you. Have a good trip.
Bye.
Why am I centered? No.
Well, before we get into final thoughts, I was going to ask y'all we already know Steve's, but what are y'all's least favorite moment of the film? Or something that didn't hold up, or something that maybe you were just like, no.
Just like a lot of the transition sequences. Like, I feel like if I watched Grease High, I would be very confused because it'd be like, all of a sudden we're doing this? Like,
I did notice that the way they like absolve themselves of that is they'll say very quickly at the end of the previous scene this thing of like, and the next scene we're doing this, okay? And I'm like, what? I've never noticed they use like they set it up, but if you aren't paying attention, or like it literally is like this instead of being like overall, you know what I mean? Like sometimes you'll be like, oh, we're gonna do the thing, blah blah blah. The only scene that I feel like they do set up is the first morning announcements. They do mention some things that you're gonna see in the movie.
Yeah.
But then after that, it really could go the way the movie goes. Like it could go any which way, and there's no real clear direction except for like the last sentence before the end of the scene.
Exactly. It's like, and we're doing this now, and it's just like, and then like the whole T-Birds versus the Scorpions thing. It's like supposed to be a very big aspect to who these characters are, but like I don't feel like it's actually touched on. You know, like Zuko spends a lot more time trying to pretend to be a jock than he does worrying about like this rival gang that's supposed to be like a big deal.
And we never see any other Scorpios, so I feel like the threat isn't really there. It's just the one guy.
Yeah, the one guy.
That is kind of weird. I never thought about that.
Because like that's like his whole identity. That's like who Sandy tries to turn herself into. So these Thunderbirds. And they came and throw a baseball. So I'm wondering who I should put my money on.
True.
Guy with the hand-eye coordination, I think.
How about you, Naomi?
I'm trying to analyze what part is my. I don't think I. No, I can say that about Greece.
And that's
I love absolutely everything about it. But now that I have this eye because of you guys, I don't like the fact that they did transition very quickly to like her being a cheerleader. Like in my
Mm.
school, you gotta try out, and if these girls didn't like you, they didn't like you.
And
So
she,
I felt like that was so unrealistic, and I'm like, I don't think it's like that in high school. You know what I mean? So I felt like that was a little bit unrealistic. Other than that, that's just my intake on that.
oh God, like whatever like high schools y'all went to, like mine was boring as fuck. Because like that's like my hardest thing. Like that's always like my big thing when watching things about things that happened in high school. Because like I was literally the guy on the bench watching everyone else do everything else. Just like I don't know. I just went to school and went home.
Same. Wasn't peppy enough though to do that whole spirit shit.
Can't relate.
I think for me, like I had a lot of things that I didn't like growing up, but then as I've gotten older, I've just learned to like appreciate them. I mean, like I remember not liking Cha Cha at a certain point because I knew that she was gonna steal Danny away from Sandy. So I'd be like, man, like I'm gonna be so upset because this isn't gonna change watching it the 20th time. And then Kitty, and then but then at a certain age, I got older and I was like, how are you going to expect someone who has so much talent to just like sit in a corner and not show that she's a badass? So now I'm like, you know what, Cha Cha de Gregorio, you do you. And same thing with Rizzo. Like I think as a kid, I was like, oh, she's so mean, and I'm like, actually no, she's like the most complex character in this whole film. And that song ended up becoming my favorite. I think the only thing that I'm still like always, even that is fine. But like the opening animation sequence, I was like, where did the song come from? Why the song? I think there's actually like an explanation for it, but I forgot why. I think they like had the rights to it. I wanted to use it.
That whole animation thing, I forgot that happened. I'm usually the one that sees the movie like when Sandy's registering for school for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
So when I watch the whole movie for like, I feel like I missed certain parts. And I'm like, why did I only watch Sandy entering and registering to school? How come I've never seen the beginning? That was just, I'm surprised that came out. But it's so 70s to have like an animated first sequence. Thanks, guys. It's getting hot in here. Oh, you're close. Woo.
Well, on that cue, final thoughts.
Oh, guys, I love it.
Steve.
Yeah,
it's
a fun film.
Be quiet. Steve, say something. You've been shying.
Yeah, like it's a fun film. It's kind of weird and it's definitely a product of its time. But saying that, there's just so much staying power, and I think that there's a reason why even today we still have girls who are like, I don't know, let's be pink ladies for Halloween. Like there's a reason for that. How is that a spoiler alert?
You're spoiling your Halloween costume, you know?
Come on. But that's my final thought.
I'll go. Final thoughts. If you haven't seen this movie, it means you are Gen Z, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not going to know this film. Because if you are a millennial like me, you have seen this movie or your mom has made you watch this movie at least a couple times. Yeah, the music is cool. The movie is pretty quick. Well, you said it was 2 hours?
Just
An hour
not.
and 15 minutes running time, but it
No,
moves
we're-
fast.
yeah, it goes very fast.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it's a good movie to watch. If you're a musical person, definitely you might love that. And I recommend it to the people that either haven't watched it or have been years upon years of watching it, like me, to just revisit it and just think how much you've grown. Because that's what I've seen with movies. It's like sometimes we watch movies when we're younger and then we watch it older and we reflect on like, oh my god, I get even more things about the movie. I know more about relationships and character dynamics and things about character development, individuality, and all this stuff that is just like I wasn't thinking stuff like that when I was a kid. So it was a good watch. That's my final.
Well, just real quick, I was just gonna say, like, I think that is what makes it special. The way you articulated it is that, like, as you grow older, there are different character options that you can relate to, and you recognize kind of subtleties of what everyone's bringing to their character. That I know as a kid I wasn't paying attention to. Like as a kid, I was like, "Oh, Danny and Sandy, I want them to get together happily ever after." That's very easy for me to read a film through a kid's lens. And as I got older, I was like, "Oh, sure, like." That's the Trojan horse, but then like there's the character of Rizzo or like Frenchie or all these other characters who are really having their own journeys throughout the movie. They're really special. Um,
Just to add to that, uh, it was funny how little I cared for Sandy this time watching from the film. I legit that was like the least interesting character for me, and I'm like that's the one they're pushing in the film. Her relationship with the Travolta Zuko dude. But I was more interested in, like Michaela was saying. Sometimes I was interested in the background characters, like legit. I was like, well, look at them; they're so animated. Uh, so yeah, just adding that.
I will say
I
though, Sandy is iconic. Like she's my she's one of my, what do you call it? Like North compasses for like clothing. Like black, skin tight, everything. Maybe a little dash of pink. Like I'm here for it. Anyway, Naomi.
You mean Danny Zuko? That was actually his wardrobe. First off.
But she takes over. She's like, it's mine now.
Yeah, but like the pink, that was all Zuko. Like the hot pink shirt with the socks
yeah.
Wait, what are you guys talking about?
during prom. That was what he was wearing. He got like the wide hot pink shirt with the matching socks, like tight
Yeah, he was
tailored
like,
pants.
Fuchsia off
Oh
there.
shit,
Like
yeah.
if you wanted to look like Sandy after you watched, we watched the different like two different movies. Like I want to dress more like Danny Zuko. Like
This is our Halloween costume. Swapping genders.
yep, you can be the pink lady. I'll be the Thunderbird.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
agree with everyone in the sense of now that I watched this growing like from different stages, I did root for someone specifically. Sandy at one point, Danny at the other. Cha-Cha, I really like the fact that she was I feel like the only Latina there. So I always rooted for her, even though she was a villain. I thought her dress was always popping. Um, with the what's it called? Se me olvidó, se me fue la vaina.
So I've been wondering if Cha-Cha is in fact Latina. Sorry, my Larry and I watched this yesterday, and we're like, is she emphasizing Latina features, and is she actually Latina?
I don't know. So I dig the fact that she has those Latina features, and
Mexican and Italian.
yes. So every stage of my life, I've noticed this movie, grown from it, and I recommend it to everyone. It's one to have in the background while you're just like chilling, the soundtrack itself is good, just like listen to it. I'm a big fan. Good sing along.
Also, speaking of Latinas, I think one of the background actors is also Latina. She has, I'm trying to get her name. I'm going to figure it out at some point. But she has long black hair. She's giving a lot in the dance sequences, especially in the cafeteria scene. I think she's Latina. And then there's another Latino in the film. The kind of jock airhead that Sandy is not crushing on for the first part of the film is actually, I think, also half Mexican and half something else. His name's Lorenzo Lamas, and I think they made him dye his hair for the role.
No way.
Yeah, he ended up becoming the lead role
Lorenzo
in an
Lamas,
80s primetime
Lorenzo Lamas
soap.
was in like one of those VH1's reality shows, right?
If he was, I did not know that. Sorry.
I have a question. I don't know. Grease 1 or Grease 2? Like, which one is your favorite out of both?
Is that even a question?
Argentinian and Norwegian. I was wrong, not Mexican. Grease 1 for me. I think I've only seen Grease 2 once, and I don't remember.
What?
Grease 1. Like, Grease 2, even the music sucks.
Well, I like Michelle Pfeiffer. She's like, ooh, she did well. I don't know. That's just me.
I would rather listen to "I'm a Barbie Girl in a Barbie World" 100 times than to listen to any song from Grease 2.
What?
Boom.
That's kind of rough to say, I think.
Well, on that note, thank y'all for watching Grease with me. I hadn't watched it in a few years, so I was excited to revisit. And I'm gonna have to ask Jason what his thoughts are next week. This is his first time. What's going on for next week?
Yeah. Also, did you know that John Travolta's sister was in Grease?
I saw a name, Travolta, in the credits this time.
Yeah, she was one of the waitresses.
Is the one that looked like Frenchie?
Probably.
I always
I thought it was like the mom or like her mom when I read that, but according to Google, it was his sister. I'm like, he can't be that old. So, the more you know.
The more you know.
Interesting.
All right. So no one's gonna ask me a question.
So, Steve, what are we doing next week?
Oh, next week, what are we doing? That is. I don't know why people ask me that question because it's not my turn next week. It's actually Naomi. So Naomi, what you got for us next week, girl?
Jackie Chan's Drunken Master.
Ooh, we're watching the 1978 film Jackie Chan, Drunken Master.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm excited. Never seen this movie. Never heard of this movie before.
I may have watched this movie.
We were talking about choreography. Choreography. So this plays a big role in here.
Oh, that's dope. My folks and I would watch a lot of Jackie Chan movies growing up. So I feel like I may have watched this. It would be nice to revisit.
I used to watch a lot because they would put a lot in Puerto Rico. The Jackie Chan film, Who I Am, Who Am I, or something like that.
Can this be considered a Latino thing? I have talked about this before with some other Latinos in the industry, and I feel like because there's so little emphasis on language, it's able to translate to many cultures. And I know a lot of other folks that are Latinos who also watched a ton of Jackie Chan films growing up.
I agree. They speak in general terms where everyone can understand, or like they depict it in general ways. Yeah, it's a like I feel like it's a It translates well. Yeah, I agree with you.
Well, for Raymond Arturo Perez, Naomi YG, Michaela, and Steve Dash TV, we'll catch you next week. Bye bye. Say bye. Say bye. Say bye.
Cat's gonna
Bye.
get.
Hi, I'm
Bye.
Steve Des from Oye Dimelo Network. Make sure to subscribe and click here or here to watch more video content just for you.